All right, Rabbi Sai. Let's
behave.
Let's behave, please. We are in our last shiur of the year 5780 for Shabbat at least.
Wait.
I mean, except for Shabbat.
8-1.
8-1. You still in 80?
I said 8-1.
And I want to thank everybody over here for joining me in my Siyum Masechet. Our Monday night shiur tonight is the Siyum Masechet of Masechet Pesachim. You know, we're also do Mishnayot Thursday nights, Masechet Pesachim. So the person who asked me said, could you please do Mishnayot Masechet Pesachim Thursday night? I said, no, I don't want to. I mean, I'm tired. I have 4 babies at home. It's like, no, do it. I'm like, listen, they want to learn Torah. Who am I to say no? I'm like, which Masechet do you want to learn? He said, Pesachim. I'm like, wow, from Hashem. I'm doing Masechet Pesachim with the Gemara right now, and he asked me to do Masechet Pesachim. And this Masechet actually is very dear to me because this I also made my Siyum Masechet when I was bar mitzvah. Wow. This was the Gemara I made a Siyum in my bar mitzvah. And I can honestly say I don't know what I was making a Siyum on back then because this is one of the hardest Masechets I learned in my life. Really? And you know, the funny thing is, when a person goes to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, may Hashem give him a long life,
Amen.
And he tells him, what should a person, thank you, John, what should a person start his Gemara learning with? He says, learn Seder Moed. Seder Moed is Masechet Shabbat, Eruvin, Pesachim, Yoma, Ta'anit, Chagiga, easy stuff. And you know, you look at Masechet Pesachim and you're like, this is not easy, you know? And most of the Gemara, the reason why it's not easy, they're very abstract ideas. It's things you guys never learn about. Korbanot, how do you bring a korban? And I can honestly tell you guys, after this Masechet, you could bring a korban. I'm telling you, you know how to bring a korban. And 90% of this Masechet, it's 120 pages. This whole Masechet is 120 pages. And the crazy thing is, the next Masechet I chose to start, I didn't know, also has 120 pages. It's crazy. And it has 120 pages, and 120 we know is the name of Elohim. Elohim is 86, but you have the name Elohim. Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yud, and Mem. If I would take all the configurations possible with all the letters, 5 different letters make how many configurations? 120. Makes 120 letters. Understand? So 120 configurations. That's why Eliyahu Hanavi, also Eliyahu. It's 5 letters. You understand? And there's 120. That's why after Motzei Shabbat, there's a sigula to say Eliyahu Hanavi Zachur Latov 120 times. Eliyahu Hanavi Zachur Latov, Eliyahu Hanavi Zachur Latov, Eliyahu Hanavi Zachur Latov. If you go to my father's house after Shabbat, there's a lot of sigulot. I don't do any of them. I do like one of them maybe. And one of the ones as a kid that was always very funny to me, he's there counting. How many times do you say Eliyahu Hanavi Zachur Latov? I used to think because it's his name, he likes to say it, you know. But apparently it's a sigula to say Eliyahu Hanavi Zachur Latov 120 times after Shabbat is done. And the reason is because the name Elohim also has 120 configurations. So I was out talking to one rabbi, and he told me, a big chacham, Mikubal, and he said that learning Masechet Pesachim also has the ability to sweeten your judgments, to sweeten your dinim, because the name Elohim, which has 120 configurations, is in the Masechet Pesachim. It's in this Masechet. And the truth is, we're making a Masechet Siyum right now. It's not one Masechet, it's actually 2 Masechets. That's why it's called Pesachim. Why? Because it's not Masechet Pesach. It's Masechet Pesachim. It's plural, you understand? So really, in reality, Rabbi Victor Miller says this used to be 2 Masechets. But they combined it into one. Just like Masechet Sanhedrin and Masechet Makot were originally 1 Masechet, and they split it into 2. That's why if you learn Masechet Makot, it's actually a continuation of Masechet Sanhedrin. It's like the last thing it was talking about, it continues. So we're talking about Masechet Makot, just one sigula, I'll tell you, from one of the biggest tzaddikim, Rav Yitzchak Tzvi Bernfeld. He had a Magid. A Magid is an angel that comes to you and teaches you Torah. I have his book, it's called Misharim Megid. He didn't live, he passed away maybe 20 years ago. He had a Magid that taught him Torah. And Rav Yitzchak Tzvi Bernfeld, he was a descendant of Chatam Sofer. How did he get a Magid? He finished Masechet Makot, I think like 1,200 times, something like some crazy amount. And one day he was running away from the Nazis, and he sees somebody speaking to him in Torah, and he's like, I'm a Magid. And he started to write all the Torah down, and every time he would teach him Torah, then he would disappear. So he writes over there, whoever is suffering from bad hirurim, he can't control his hirurim. Everywhere he goes, hirurim, bad thoughts, hirurim, bad thoughts, bad thoughts. He goes to work, bad thoughts. He goes to home, bad thoughts. His wife is nida, again, bad thoughts. It's, by the way, you're not allowed to think of your wife when she's a nida. It's still, you're not allowed to, you understand? So, everywhere, hirurim ra'im. So the Magid told of Yitzhak Tzvi Bernfeld, learn Masechet Makot. Why Makot? Makot has the numerical value, Hirurim. So if you learn the Masechet Makot, you're going to give the Makot to the Hirurim. It has the same numerical value. It's not a coincidence. You understand? Now Masechet Makot is 24 pages. 24. It's not very long, but trust me, every page over there is a page. It's not a regular page. It's a very serious page. Now Masechet Pesachim, I'll be honest with you, 80% of the Masechet, that means 100 dafim, 100, deals just with the Korban Pesach. That's how intricate it is how to bring a Korban. Only the last 20 pages, and out of the 20 pages, 5 are Agadata. 5 are stories and rabbinic lessons. Only 15 is on the Seder. Just the Seder. How to make the Seder. That means most of this Masechet is really supposed to be in Seder Kochim. How do you make a Korban? Not in this Seder. So when you learn this Masechet, you get a knowledge what's Tumah and Tahara. You get a knowledge what's Korbanot. You get a knowledge what's Beit HaMikdash. You get a knowledge how do you go inside the Beit HaMikdash. Now, if you learn a Gemara and then you finish the daf and it jumps out of your head, that's a problem. And then you don't take it with you. You understand? Kui machem divarim, says the Navi. Take it with you, v'shuvu el Hashem, and come back to Hashem. If you just come to learn and it pops out of your head, it was learning when you learned. But after you left, that's it. It's not there anymore. It's finished. It's gone. When you learn Torah, how do you judge if the person you're learning from, if what you're learning is powerful, if it's good, if you remember it. If you could ask a question, did you something? Yeah, this is the halacha. Why? That means you have a ta'ava to learn. That means you're coming to the shiur with a ta'ava. That's why I'm a bit against always but what can we do? This is the generation. Always shiur, food. Back in the day, in Volozhin, in Novordak, if you would go look at the yeshivot over there, the paint is cracking off the walls. The benches don't have backs. It's all benches like this. It's hard wood. You know when you sit on hardwood. Today, Baruch Hashem, everything is cushion, this, that. That's how they used. That's why there was only 40 talmidim in the yeshiva. Today, Baruch Hashem, there's 1,000 talmidim in the yeshiva. But yet the quality is definitely not the same. Rav Shalom Gadaev says, how come in our days we don't have nevi'im anymore? Because we do everything out of kaif. Everything is out of joy. Everything is out of, I enjoy it. You understand? There's no more anymore, I toil to do it. Amelim b'Torah. You know when you're going to be amel b'Torah? I tell a parent, he's putting his kid to sleep 3 a.m, right? It's crying. The baby's crying. He's crying. He doesn't know what the kid wants. You take the mucus out 3 times. You check the fever. No fever. You don't know what's bothering the kid. You put Oragel. I don't know what you put on the thing to calm the thing. You know what the kid wants. Sure. Then the kid falls asleep. Finally, 3:30 in the morning. Now you have another 1 hour till Alot HaShachar, right? So that's called Amel B'Torah. If you're going to take that 1 hour and instead of going to sleep, then for sure you're going to wake up at 11. If you're going to have that 1 hour and use it for Torah, that's a sign that you're Amel B'Torah. But if you're going to go to sleep that 1 hour, and then anyways, you're going to wake up at 11 and miss everything, what did you gain? And we're all guilty of that, obviously. But what can we do? The Yetzer Hara, after that 3:30, if you go on the couch, oh God, it's the biggest kaif in the world. The bones stretch, boom, 3 seconds, you're out. Cold. Forget about it. You're out. Cold. You can't come back. Nothing is going to wake you up from that. But that's the secret. To be Amel B'Torah. How are you going to be a Talmid Chacham? How? You're going to be a Talmid Chacham. You have to be Amel B'Torah. Amel is Otiyot Amalek. You understand? To be Amel B'Torah, you have to destroy that Amalek inside of you. Missing the Kuf. You got to, what's the Kuf? What's the Kuf in Amel? Amalek. What's the Kuf? Kuf is Otiyot Kain. What's Kain? Kuf of Kain. You have to be koneh the Torah. You have to buy the Torah. When Kain brought the korban, what did he bring a korban? Flax, whatever he grows, the garbage of the earth, the land, whatever, the garbage. Understand? You can't be koneh Torah through garbage. Chas v'shalom. You have to bring fat, wool, sheep. I have a chidush to tell you guys. I was going to say this on Shabbat, but now that I was talking about Kain and Hevel, I'll tell you this right now. So the Siyum Masechet. Kain brought wool. Hevel brought wool, right? He brought tzemer. Tzemer is your talit. Now, who was higher, Kain or Hevel? Kain, Hevel. But Hevel was a tzaddik.
Kain spoke to God.
Kain didn't speak to God. But Hevel saw. He didn't speak. He heard. He was a sin that he that's true. He did, but he came back as Moshe Rabbeinu. Correct? Yes or no? Kain, that is true. He was the nitzotz of David HaMelech, but at the same time, I want to give a different analogy over here. Hevel was the talit. Why? What do we have left from Hevel? The tzemer ha'elyon, right? It's the wool, the talit. What did God give Kain when he did teshuvah? He did teshuvah at the end, right? He did teshuvah. What did he give Kain? He gave him a sign. What's a sign? Ot. He beini it's a tefillin. So God gave tefillin to Kain, and he gave talit to Hevel. What's higher, talit or tefillin? Tefillin. It's kedusha. Talit is not so kadosh, right? If the talit becomes bad, technically speaking, you could throw the talit out. Just the tzitzit, it's good to bury them. It's a mitzvah because you did a mitzvah with them, but they're not kedusha. There's no kedusha in them. You see, is there God's name in the talit? No. Is there God's name in tefillin? Is there God's name? Yeah. Absolutely. Do you know? According to the Ari Kadosh, according to the Ari, the bite, the actual bite, not the askaro, the house, is in a higher level than the actual, is more of a higher kedusha than the actual names of Hashem that's written inside the parchment. It's unbelievable. The tefillin is a very big thing. But the Ari surprises us. In Shara Kava, no Drusha tefillin, he says something crazy. He says, you guys have it all wrong. He says, really, the talit is on a higher level than tefillin. The talit is on a much higher level, so how come it's not kedusha? How come it's not kedusha? The reason is because you cannot comprehend it. Something you can't comprehend doesn't become kadosh, because you never internalized it. So too, when you come to a shiur Torah, if you didn't internalize what the lecturer is saying, so what the heck did he spend his time for? We did mitzvot for 40, 50 minutes, and then Laila Tov, you have to internalize what he said. You have to grow from what he said. You understand? You got to take what he said, repeat it to your wife, repeat it to your children, repeat it, say it, delve in it, talk about it, ask questions about it. The Gemara says a story that they were Talmidei Chachamim speaking over there, and the Gemara says in this Masechet, the Gemara talks about zugot. You know what zugot are? Pairs. The Gemara says don't ever do anything in pairs. When you do stuff in pairs, the Shin Dalet comes and he could kill you.
What do you mean?
Don't drink 2 cups of water. Drink 3 cups of water. Don't marry 2 wives. Marry 3 wives. Today we marry 1. So we're good with that one. You understand? Don't do things in pairs. When you have something in 2, kids is different because kids, you're not thinking of the second kid when you're having the first kid. Right? It's only when, listen, I want to have 2 right now. You understand? So the Gemara says, there was a Rava, and by the way, the Gemara says we don't worry about Zugot today. By the way, the Gemara has 2 dafim of all the stories how Shindalets hurt people when they did things in Zugot, in pairs. Then the Gemara says at the end, in Israel, they don't really care about these Shindalets. They're not makpid. From here came out the very famous line, Man de la kapid, la kapdinan behadeh. Whoever doesn't have kapdanut, he doesn't really have a effect. It has no effect. It doesn't have any effect on him. When does the Gemara talk about that? When it talks about zugot, pairs. It's not talking about ayin hara. It's not talking about all the other things the Gemara says. The Gemara, when it says, it's only where? In Eretz Yisrael. You understand? So really, we have to be makpid in all these things. Why is the Gemara talking about it? Because on the Seder night, how many cups of wine we have? 4. So it's pairs. So the zugot. The Gemara, how can we have zugot? The answer is that the cost of Birkat HaMazon is not part of the zugot. The Birkat HaMazon cost, and really every single cost, is a mitzvah within itself. So if I only have 1 cost that night, I made a mitzvah of 1 cost. So it's not a pair. If it's pairs, if I didn't have 1, that means I missed out on the whole mitzvah. The fact that every single one is a separate mitzvah within itself is a proof that it's not pairs. And it's like I'm coming to a seudah. Right? It's not dependent on one another. Exactly. So I have a come to and I say, Gabriel, could you please pour me a cup of water? He said, yes. And I drink, I'm good. Then I'm like, Gabriel, could you pour me another cup of water? He says, yes, and he pours me. That's not zugot. Why? Because I didn't have in mind to drink only zugot. So the Gemara says a crazy story. The Gemara says that Rava, Reish Bet Aleph, he used to have sometimes rabbis over his house. Of course, he was one of the writers of the Gemara. So when he had rabbis in his house, one of the rabbis, I forget his name, I'm not going to find it right now over here. So he comes and he used to give everybody 4 cups of wine. 4 shots of wine he used to give them to the rabbis when they used to come learn Torah with him to loosen them up a bit. You know, because when you come to a Rebbe, back in the day at least, they used to be a bit stressed out. The Rebbe, imagine, the Ben Ish Chai didn't even reach, the Arya Kadosh didn't even reach their thumb, their pinky. Imagine who was Rava. You understand what I'm saying? They used to bring people back from the dead, these Chachamim. You understand? Rava used to hear a bat kol saying, hey, how are you, every Erev Yom Kippur. I mean, who are these people? You understand? Abaye once a week. There was a doctor. They used to do chesed for free. He used to do everything for free. He used to hear it every day. Come on, these were why? They didn't have the all the things that we had today. You understand? They used to really toil in life to learn Torah. You understand? The Gemara says when these rabbis used to learn Torah in Israel, they used to see the dust when they used to get up from the ground. How it used to come up. They said, "Oh, the rabbis are getting up from Israel to Iraq." They used to see, wow, it's the dust storm coming. That means the rabbis in Iraq, in Bavel, they're getting up from the Shiur Torah right now. And these were chachamim on a different level, you understand what I'm saying? And we over here worried about our necessities in life. You have all your necessities. Everything is good, Baruch Hashem. Learn Torah. Do yourself a favor because Yom Adin is coming. Okay? So Rava says he gave 4 kosot to every single rabbi, and none of them ever got hurt. So the Gemara, the one rabbi once did get hurt. He was going home one day and a dog attacked him. Pah! He jumped on him. So the rabbi said, it wasn't a coincidence. He said, because you gave him 4 cups. So the rabbi said, it's not because I gave him 4 cups. You know why the dog attacked him? Because every time I give a shiur, this guy always attacks me in halakha. So from Shamayim, they were taking my back over here to teach him a lesson. Don't attack your Rebbe when he gives a shiur. You have a question?
Wait.
Ask him afterwards. Wait for it. There was once a rabbi that used to ask a question to Rabban Gamliel, I believe, in his shiurim. You say, you're saying shalom, shtuyot over here. You're saying nonsense. Rabban Gamliel says, what do you mean nonsense? He looked at him, made him gal shel atzamot. What does it mean, gal shel atzamot? A heap of bones. The rabbis had a power back in the day to look at the person's black in his eye. The black in your eye is really what color? Black is really the color red. The Gemara says black is red. The black in you is not a real black. It's the blood inside of you that hardened to a point that it turned black. That's what he's Rabbi Yochanan to Rish Lakish. So the black in that's that's something. I'm talking about. Let's talk about the black in the eye for a second. Now the color black. Right, exactly. Masechet Nida, Masechet Chagiga. Now the black in your eye also, it's really red. Because all the red in your body comes from your mother. All the white in your body comes from your father. Because he's chasadim and you're gvurot. She's gvurot. Now, so if she's red, how did it turn black? Because really this black is red. That's why when a woman comes to a rabbi and she shows him a mar'eh and a nida cloth of black, but real black, you understand? He says, it's red, it's tameh. You understand? If he could tell it's really dark brown, he could say it's tahor. Usually you see this with elderly females. Okay, it's to the point. We're not talking about nida right now. So the red, the color red, is also very connected to the color blue. Black, red, and blue are in the same family. The color blue is a very dangerous color. Why do we give, from the Mekubalim, why do we give a baby when he's born the color blue to wear, a boy? It's anti-ayin hara. The color blue negates ayin hara. It's a natural negation of ayin hara. Why? It's din. Color blue is din. Din plus din equals plus.
The eye is blue.
So the blue, the black is really red, which is blue, and it touches the blue and it negates it. So it doesn't cause a harm to the baby, because a baby is very susceptible to ayin hara. Why? A million women are coming to the baby. Oh, so cute! And her kid at home is a total afcharka over there. It's yelling and crying all night. It's so cute. He doesn't cry at night. This kid over here is getting a mabuta of ayin hara on him. You understand? And so you put him color blue. Also in the breed, it's important to give him the color blue. It negates ayin hara. You understand? So so what the Chachamim used to do, they used to look at the color, at the black in the person's eye, and through their kapdanut, that they were makpid on their Torah's kavod, they used to kill the guy. They used to take out their neshama.
Murder.
Yeah, it's not murder. Murder is only with a knife. It's murder only when you physically do it. But when you look at the guy and you say, you're touching my Torah, do you have a right to do that? You're chayav mita. Chas v'shalom. You're chayav the death penalty. They used to make them a heap of bones. That's what happened to Rish Lakish. That's what happened to Rav Kahana. That's what happened to many goyim inside the Gemara. They used to look at them, boom, a heap of bones. Doesn't mean like in the cartoons, it turns into bones. No, it means a body that's just full of bones. Neshama is gone. Why? You're makpid on him. Some chachamim are very makpid. Some chachamim, they used to trample on them, gung. They wouldn't say a word. Like Hillel Zaken. They used to trample on him, bother him, everything. Beseder. Why? They're both right. One neshama is chasadim, one neshama is gevurot. You cannot change a person's personality. Personality is personality. You have to do what you can work. What you work with, what you have. You understand? Like the Baal Shem, the person is ill-tempered. He has a temper problem. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna ruin. You're born with a temper. Use your temper for good. Channel it into the right channel. Now, the Gemara says, I wanted to give you guys a small Gemara over here, a couple of memrot over here, and these are very important. Remember, because we're going to Rosh Hashanah right now. And in Rosh Hashanah, the Ariya Kadosh says, in Ayeh Mekom Kivodo La'aritzo, when in Keter of Musaf, we say Ayeh Mekom Kivodo La'aritzo, you have to ask one of three wishes. One of three. One, which is probably all of us are going to ask, to have good children. Number two, Parnasa Tova B'Shefaraz. By the way, there is no, it's not a Chas Shalom, oh, he asked for Parnasa, he hates his kids. No, some kids are naturally good kids. He could ask for Parnasa, why not? Hakol Tov, right? Okay, you don't want to take that chance. Ask for good kids. Good children should be good. And the third thing is Ruach HaKodesh. Huh? Once, good luck. Once, why you say that? Once one guy, Ruach HaKodesh doesn't only mean that you see visions, you know that? Ruach HaKodesh means when a person asks you a question, that you talk to somebody, that you learn with somebody, that you're saying the right thing. Yeah, it's a channel, you're a channel. Now, but I'll tell you, it's a danger to say that. Once one guy came to me 10 years ago in this Beit HaKnesset, and he said to me, I want to ask for Ruach HaKodesh. Today he's a drug addict. I'm not lying to you.
Backfire.
It's not funny.
It's not funny.
Backfire.
So before you ask something, think twice.
How do you know it's
You understand? I'll tell you, because nothing is a coincidence. But it means he already wanted something that's abstract. You understand what I'm saying? You stay on the ground. Keep your feet on the ground. Don't live as be grounded. Be grounded in life. Don't fly, as the rabbi says. Understand? Don't fly. So, of course, we all ask for good children. But, however, Rav Mordechai Sharabi used to do differently. We have 4 ayahs. There is 2 on Rosh Hashanah and 2 on Yom Kippur. On Musaf of the first day of Rosh Hashanah, he used to ask for good children. He didn't never have children either, but his students were his children. Second day of Rosh Hashanah, he used to ask in Ayeh Parnasa Tova. On Yom Kippur of Musaf, he used to ask for Ruach HaKodesh, and in Ni'ilah, he used to ask for all 4. All 3. So if you think you're like Rav Mordechai Sharabi, I'm giving you a secret right now. I promise you never heard this before in your life. You could do that. But for example, I personally, I don't ask for any of them. Once, the first year I got married, I asked for Parnasa. That was it. And I regret, even that I regret. I only ask that my children, and even if you're single, you could ask for good children. that your children should be in the way of Hashem. Why? The Gemara says bad children is gogu magog in your house. It's gogu magog inside your house. When your kids don't go b'derech Torah, mitzvah, they don't listen to you when you want for their best. That's called gogu magog. But that doesn't mean you can't pray for parnasa. I'm telling you guys right now, we're going to learn a Gemara right now. I'm going to a bit scare you. It's the last piece of Masechet. By the way, to be honest with you, I didn't finish the last 5 lines of Masechet Pesachim, so we're actually going to learn the last 5 lines together to stay true. And I was holding myself very strong yesterday because I really wanted to finish it. But, spasiba. So, therefore, we're going to finish mamash together the last 5 lines of Masechet Pesachim. But before that, I want to tell you a very scary Gemara. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, yes, you should pray for your parnasa. If you pray for your parnasa, it doesn't mean you're mikatne amana. You don't believe in Hashem is going to give you a parnasa. No, you have to pray for your parnasa. You have to know where your parnasa comes from. I'm going to read you a Gemara. Tanura Banan, we learned in a Braita. This is in Masechet Pesachim, page 118a. On the 4th cup of Pesach, we have 4 cups, we finish the Hallel. It's not a regular Hallel, it's called Hallel Hagadol. It's a big Hallel. It's not a regular, it's a big Hallel. Rabbi Tarfon, the very Rabbi Tarfon, these are the words of Rabbi Tarfon. He was Rabbi Akiva's Rebbe at one point. Then they became in the same level. Vayesh Omrim, you have to say on it, the chapter 23 of Psalms. Mizmor LeDavid, Hashem Ro'i Lo Echsar. It's a very powerful psalm, the Ari Kadosh and the Rashash. Before you eat food, you should say that psalm. That psalm has the power to give you mizonot. This psalm. It's in the Lashon Chachamim of the Ben Ish Chai. So the Gemara then asks a question: why do we? V'lama nikra shemo Halel Hagadol? Why is Halel Hagadol called Halel Hagadol? By the way, what's Halel Hagadol? You know, before we say Baruch Shamar on Shabbat, we say Hodu Lashem Kitov. How many times do we say? Did you ever count how many times there's Hodus over there?
I can guess 26.
26 is the right answer. 26. There's 26. What's the last Hodu over there? Noten lechem lechol basar ki leolam azdo. So the Gemara says, wait. He opened us Yam Suf. He took us out of Egypt. He killed a giant, and he fought Sichon, and he did whatever he did over there. Then at the end, what do we say? He gives bread to all the people. Is that really that important? Put that in the middle. Put that in the beginning. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yoshev Berumo Shel Olam. God sits kibiyachol. Don't vision a guy. That's what the Crete monks do. They vision a guy sitting at the edge of the world. Chas v'shalom. God enod milvado. But kibiyachol, God is sitting and He's saying, Gabriel gets this much. You get this much. You get this much. You're a baby. Your parents get this much for you. This, everything, Hashem, Yoshev B'rumo Shel Olam, u'mechalek, look at the Gemara's words, mechalek mizonot lechol, and distributes food to every creature. That's unbelievable. At the same time, He's also marrying people and fighting wars. Hashem, in a sense, that's your dad, by the way. He calls you His son. He doesn't call the Goyim His son, He calls you His son. Imagine the relationship you have with Him. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. There's 26 hodus. Why 26? 26 generations God didn't give the Torah, says the Gemara. So how did they get Parnasah, says the Gemara? That means the Gemara already is in the assumption. Why do you have Parnasah? Because you learn Torah. If you don't learn Torah, why do you have Parnasah? So the Gemara says God gave 26 generations Parnasah bechazdo, out of His mercy. That means Hashem was zan 26 generations out of His chesed. Amar Rav Chasda. What is the meaning of Hodu la Hashem Kitov? This is a bit of a scary Gemara, but I'll tell it to you anyways because you should know it. What is the meaning? Praise Hashem. Give thanks to Hashem that He's good. Give thanks to Hashem. Shegovea chovoto shalom b'tovato. Give thanks to God because He collects His debt from your good. What does that mean? He collects His debt from your good. He takes from a rich man his ox. That's the equivalent of saying today he loses all your stocks. He takes from his old man, from the poor man, his lamb. That's the equivalent of saying he loses the poor guy loses his job. That's his chesed. That's a chesed. He takes from his orphan his egg. What does an orphan have to eat? A piece of sunny side up. He takes that from him too. And he takes from an almana, a widow, her tarnegolet, her chicken, her hen that lays the eggs. That means it's a chesed when Hashem gives you yisurim. If you accept it ba'ahava. If you accept it ba'ahava. If you don't accept it ba'ahava, it's not yisurim ba'ahava. It says the Gemara Masechet Berakot. Says, but this is a scare. I don't know. You guys didn't. I don't see the chills going up your head. When I read this, I had chills.
You know why?
All right. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. This is the Gemara. This is what I want to get to. Pray for this. Don't wait for Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi said. Don't wait for Ala Parnasa. Why does everybody want P'tichat Ala Parnasa? Because it's serious. No, it's not show off. It's serious. That's why people need when you have kids. We'll talk. You need Parnasa. B'ezrat Hashem. Don't forget to invite Eliyahu. Don't forget to invite us. Rabotai.
Let us know, Eliyahu.
Please. 120 times. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Gemara Masechet Pesachim, Kashin. It is difficult in Shamayim. Miznotav shel Adam, the sustenance of a man, Kiflaim kiyoleda, twice as the suffering of a woman in childbirth.
What?
Every time you get a check, every time you get a parnasa, don't forget in Shamayim, a woman gave birth twice.
That's how hard it is.
That's how hard it is. That's how they have to squeeze your parnasa out of there. You have a lot of mazikin up there. Don't forget. You have a lot of children that want your kesef zahav. Yeah. So whatever you have, make sure the Milsa say thank you what you have. And before we're say thank you, the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kashin mizonotav shel Adam yoter mina geula. The mizonot of a person, it's not about a paycheck. You know what a mizonot means? The food that you ate. Not even what you have in your bank. Say thank you what you have over there. Just the fact that you ate food today, kashim, more than the impending redemption. That means every day a person goes through so much geula. That's why he says Baruch Ata Hashem Goel Yisrael in the Shmona Yisrael. Before he says Gaal Yisrael, it's a geula. It's a geula. The Gemara says over here, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and the moment that God told Adam when he sinned, when you will grow things, thorns will grow, thistles will grow. Kotz v'dardar tatzmiach zalgu enav d'maod. When God told Adam, because you sinned in Etz Hadad, before back then it was a guy put a seed in the ground. That day he would give birth to a tree. And the tree would taste just as good as the fruit. So when God told Adam, because of what you did, kotz v'dardar tatzmiach, you will have thorns and thistles, and you will eat the vegetable, not the vegetables, the grass, the vegetation, not vegetables, vegetation of the ground. Zalgu enav d'maot. Now we have a little background. What happened to Adam that day? His eyes was spilling tears at that moment. Adam told God, Ribono shel olam. We're talking about the words of our first father over here. We're talking about the words of our first father. Ribono shel olam, ani v'chamorin ochal be'vosa. Me and my donkey are going to eat from the same trough. What, we're both going to eat the same thing? So God told him, because you said that, beze'at apecha tochal lechem. No, you're going to eat bread. From the sweat of your brow, you'll eat bread. Look what the Gemara says. Look how the Gemara takes everything and just gives you a different interpretation. I love it. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, who's Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish? Resh? Lakish. His name was Shimon. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says he was our gladiator. He was a gladiator when he was young. Ashreinu! On the contrary, it would have been better if he would have told God, yes, let's eat thorns and thistles. Why? You wouldn't have to work for food. Your body would have been able to process grass. That's what Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish learns from this. Chaval, he said that. Chaval, he cried. Amar Abaye says, Adain lo. We still eat some vegetables. There are still some vegetables out there that are like grass. We can still process that. Hashem still gave us some taste of it. Abotai, you hear what the Gemara is saying over here? These were Chachamim that spent 24 years after Sheva Brachot to learn Torah. Matai yagiu ma'asai l'masei avotai. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Shizvi, Mishem Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Shizvi said in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Why am I telling you guys all this? I'm telling you guys right now, you should pray for your Parnasah on Rosh Hashanah. You should pray for it.
Every day.
It's not a simple matter.
Isn't also says from one to the next?
Yeah, you should pray for it. Amar Rav Shizvi in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Kashin mizanotav shel adam ke kiryat yamsuf. Providing a man's Parnasah is as tough as ripping open the sea. Not opening the sea, not pitichat yamsuf. Kriyat yamsuf. Ripping open the sea. It's that tough in Shamayim to give you Parnasah. It's that tough till it gets to you. It's that tough. It's kasher. Dichtiv. Why? Noten lechem lechol basar. He gives meat. He gives nourishment to all flesh. Then it says hagozer yamsuf ligzarim. He who opens up the yamsuf. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, by the way, you know how rich he was? He used to give, don't quote me on the number, something like 10,000 maaser calves. Just the calves he used to give to maaser every year was 10,000 calves. Something like that, some big number. That's how rich he was. And for him to say that means it was something serious. To say kashin, it means he used to daven for his Parnasah. By the way, when you say Shema Koleinu Hashem Elokeinu, Ki El Shomea Tefilot Tachanunim Ata, you say Tachanunim Ata, people daven for Batzug, this, that, yeah, you have to daven for all that. But the Chida writes in his Sefer, he says, daven for your Parnasah over there. You should daven for your Parnasah. You must daven for your Parnasah. You must daven for your Parnasah. When you're in Tachanunim Ata, you have to say, I always say this, Potech et yadecha u'masbi'a lechol chai ratzon. Yes. You must say it. It's kashin, it's kashet, it's davar kashet. It's davar me'od kashet. You don't know when you're going to lose your Parnasah. A person can lose his Parnasah from year to year. He thought he was doing, how many people opened up who had Parnasah before COVID? And after COVID, suddenly restaurants closed down, this closed down, this goes down. Now he's living on a grant off of the government. What do you call that grant? BSA, CBA, CBD, whatever you call it. PPP. No, the different one. It's different. SBA, SBA. There you go. SBA, BSA. Let's call it. They live in. What is Rabbi? This is not kashin. Is a kashe? Ama. Oh, now Gemara is gonna say something else. This I'm going to add you before we're going to learn the last part of the Gemara. We're all going to make a Kaddish. I'm going to make the Kaddish, but you guys are all with me. The last Monday night shiur of the year. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And you should also daven for this on Rosh Hashanah. Forget Rosh Hashanah. Today, from today you have to daven for it. And we should all daven for each other that when we leave this room, we shouldn't get sidetracked. That's the big Satan. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. 10 generations from Ezra Sofer. He was. Kashin nikavav shel adam kiyom hamita kriyat yamsuf. When a person chas shalom is constipated, it's as difficult as the day of death plus the difficulty of splitting the sea. When a person suffers from this. Do you know the deen that goes up in Shamayim when you suffer in the morning from this? Or in the afternoon from this? Do you know what goes on in Shamayim to you? It's kashe kiyom amita. I suggest a person, if he's suffering from this, he should say, that's what I suggest. And you should take it with a thing. On a plus side, Rav Victor Miller says, I'll give you advice that should relieve this from all your life. Before you go to sleep, don't have a shot and some kalbasa. Have a piece of apple and a cup of water.
Prune juice.
Prune juice. Not everybody could drink that. Don't go that far. Cup of piece of apple and a cup of water cleans this. That's what Rav Victor Miller said. Look, boys, I read this over there. I was going crazy. Now the Gemara goes into much more detail of such amazing things over here. how Abraham was thrown into the fiery furnace and all that's a beautiful thing. But I want to tell you one last Gemara that I'm going to learn. The Gemara says in the future we're going to be in Sukkot.
Oh.
And in Sukkot there's going to be a Sukkah of Leviathan. And Hashem is going to call Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David. He's going to say, guys, sit in the front. You guys sit in the front. Why? You guys are the four legs of the Merkavah. And he tells Abraham, say Kos Shel Bracha. This is one of my father's favorite Gemaras. This is the Gemara. And Abraham says, I cannot say Kos Shel Bracha because I had Yishmael. Yishmael caused us all the Isurim. I cannot give him. He also wasn't given the mitzvah of Priyah. He didn't do Priyah. I cannot say, look at the Anava. Giving you kavod. Do it! No. Gives it to Isaac. Yitzchak Avinu. He says, I cannot. I had Esav. Esav doesn't have a Brit Milah. How am I going to... I said, Nodel lecha Hashem ala Torah ala Brit. As a Brit. He has no Brit. He gives it to Yaakov. He gives it to Yaakov, Eliyahu. What does Yaakov say? I married two sisters. The Torah says you can't marry two sisters, and I married two sisters. How am I going to say ala Torah? I said Birkat HaMazon. It says ala Torah. How am I going to say Kos Shel Bracha on it? He gives it to Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu. Who could come to the level of Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe says, I can't do it. The Gemara says, Moshe says, Eini mevarech. I'm not going to bless. Lo zachiti likanes la'eretz Yisrael. I didn't go to Israel. Lo bechayai, lo b'moti. Not in my life. Not in my... That means there is a zechut to go into Israel even in your death. Amar Omer lo liYoshua. So Moses tells Joshua, Yoshua bin Nun, you bless. I can't. I never have any boys. I never had any. That means there's a zechut. It's a zechut when you had a baby boy. Say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Say thank you what you had. And tell also your spouse. When you have a baby boy, you have to say Baruch Hashem. And if it's the first one, you have to say Pidyon Ben you did. Alright. So Yeshua tells David HaMelech. He says, David, you bless. David says, I will bless. And for me it's good to bless. Kos Yishot Esa Ubashem Hashem Ekra. I want to ask you guys a question before we're going to read the last two things. Why do you guys think that David sinned with Bathsheba? Shalom, this, that, מה זה? זה לא פשוט. I thought you were going to say something else. Give him a cup of drink, please. I thought you were going to say something else. You disappointed me right now. You in his mouth, give it to him. No, it's not. You know why, guys? Can I give you a chidush when I was learning to tell you guys? I don't know if you guys are going to enjoy it or not, but I'll tell you. Adam Harishon is David, right? Aleph Dalet Mem. Adam, David, Mashiach. David is a Gilgul of Adam. So David is sitting in there he's Adam. What was Adam Harishon's sin?
That's what I got. To his wife. Great.
Amongst... When Hashem said, you sinned, he blamed his wife. He didn't admit. When God comes to David, David said, I admitted my mistake. Chapter 51 of Tehillim. Namnatzeach David, when the sin of Bathsheba. Because I admitted, I fixed my Avera, so therefore I could say, Kos Yishot Esa. That means we're coming to Rosh Hashanah. That's the secret. We're coming to Rosh Hashanah. We're tzaddikim. You guys are tzaddikim. But when we go to Rosh Hashanah, we have to understand. We say in Selichot, Mechaseh psha'av lo yatzliach. If you're going to cover over your sin, lo yatzliach. Modeh ve'ozev. If you admit and you leave, yerucham. When David admitted in chapter 51 of Tehillim, yes, I did it. And I admitted I did teshuvah. And 6 months he was sitting like a leper outside, all the lepers outside of Yerushalayim. He fixed the sin of Adam HaRishon and his whatever he was supposed to do. So he says, yes, I fixed it. Lina elehodot. It's my job to say Kos Yishot Esa. Why? What is he picking up? Cup of wine. What's the wine? The wine that Chava squeezed to Adam HaRishon. So David says, I'm Adam, I admit it. Now I could say Al Hagefen. Because what was Adam supposed to do with that Al Hagefen? Say Borei Pri Hagefen on Shabbat. Did he do it? He drank it before Shabbat. I admit it, now I could say Borei Pri Hagefen. That was a chidush that I made. when I was learning the Masechet. Now I'm going to read with you guys the last through 4 lines of the Gemara. The Gemara ends with a very important Chacham called Rabbi Simlai. Simlai is Otiot Semol. Semol is the left. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is what? Semolo tachat leroshi. I hug you with my left hand. Rabbi Simlai ikla lepidyon haben. He went to a pidyon haben. Ba'u mine. They asked him, Pshita al pidyon haben. An pidyon haben you say a shek. Tzivanu al pidyon haben. May we be zoche, at least some of us not in this Gilul, but in the next Gilul to do the mitzvah of pidyon haben. Some people had a mitzvah to do pidyon haben. They say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a very rare mitzvah. Al pidyon haben. Avi aven mevarech now, but the question is, there's a second bracha of shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu l'zman hazeh. Who makes that bracha? Avi aven mevarech shechianu v'kiyamanu l'zman hazeh, or kohen mevarech, or avi aven mevarech? So the Gemara asks, the question is, can one person make 2 berachot, or does the kohen say shechianu because he's getting right now? He's also doing a mitzvah, right? Because he's getting the chamisha slaim. Right, he's getting the 5 grams of silver because God said, you had a baby boy, give it to the Kohen. But Hashem said, you don't have to give your kid. Give him 5 grams of silver. Give him 5 grams of silver, and you get, let's say $130, and you switch with him, the baby, with the money. So the Kohen should say Shechianu, or maybe the Avi Aven should say, because the Avi Aven is doing a mitzvah, he's doing mitzvah pidyon haben. Maybe the Kohen should say the bracha because he's getting money. So he has more joy right now. And it's a very important thing that a Kohen should have joy, that a person should have joy. I mean, it's a mitzvah, right? A person doesn't have mitzvah, we're talking about Shabbat, b'sameach in the mitzvah. That's why you're not getting the bracha. You understand? So here's the safek. The Kohen gets the Kesef, Hana'ah. But the Avi Aben is doing the mitzvah. So who gets the higher precedence? The Hana'ah or the mitzvah? You understand? You want to do the Siyum? Lo hava bideh. He didn't know. Rav Simlai didn't know the answer, Rebbe. Rav Simlai didn't know the answer. Look at the anava. The Gemara ends with anava. So what did he do? He doesn't say, Slicha, Rabbi Isai? I have no idea. Ata Sha'il Beit Midrasha. He went to the basement and asked, who makes the bracha of Shechianu? The Avi Aben or the Kohen? Amar le Avi Aben Mivarech. They answered him, the father makes the bracha of Shechianu. Shtaim. V'hilchita, and that's the halacha. Avi Aben Mivarech Shetaim. The Avi Aben says, Pidyon Aben and Shechet. Now I want to ask you guys a question. Why? Did he give us a reason?
But he already says Brit Milah.
Brit Milah, Brit Milah. Boshi Shemo.
It's also mitzvah.
That's a different mitzvah. Shechianu, I came to the time of the Brit Milah. 30 days later is the doing my event. It's a new time.
But the same baby.
It doesn't matter. It's a new mitzvah. It's a new mitzvah. It's a new mitzvah.
You wore a new suit 3
right?
times.
It's a new mitzvah.
Same body.
What do you guys think? Why does the Avi Aben? The Gemara doesn't answer why the Avi Aben says 2 mitzvah. The Rishonim answer this question. The answer is, I'm upset at you guys because I gave you this answer in Monday night. You were in the Monday night one. Not Monday night, Mincha. I'll tell you the answer. The answer is, we learned it all together. The 24 gifts of the Kohen. Does he deserve it, or God gave it to him? God gave it to him. He doesn't have any right to make a blessing on what God gave to him.
But God gave us everything.
That's true, but he worked for it. And this one, he didn't work for it. But this one, it's already mandated from God. That means in money that you work, God said you got to work. You got to work, you got to bless. You understand? You worked. But in the Kohen, he didn't work for it. It's already mandated from God. It's a gift. God calls it 24 gifts. You got a gift? Don't make a beracha. Who makes the bracha? The one who gives the gift. Hadran alam Masechet Pesachim.